Greetings and salutations, good friends. I want to apologize right now about the less than good lighting at the moment. Simply the best I got right now. But hey, it is what it is. Can't do too much about it right now. So without further ado, Plotholes. Oh, Lord of mercy, you know I love them. I gotta tell you, I pulled a few muscles here and there trying to stretch these things out to make any level of sense. But hey, at the end of it all, some can just flat out be excused. A lot can, actually. Now, I will be fair. This is being heavily inspired by two sets of videos. One, by internet standards, rather older one, by the nostalgia critic known as Is It Right to Nitpick? Or something similar. Something about nitpicking. In which he describes many things about, picking apart the small little things about movies that really annoy you. And let's be real here. Sometimes there are just some parts that you just can't overlook. And then other times, you just don't care. You just have a good enough time in the movie to where it's perfectly fine. Another video that pretty much sparked inspiration for this whole thing comes down to, I believe the channel is known as Looper, called Dumb Things in Civil War that people just, something like they just overlooked or don't notice or didn't care about or forgot or something like that. In my last video, I discussed one of the more well-known aspects of that movie, Zemo's plan. To this moment, to this day, I still stand his plan makes sense, it works, and totally excusable. The motivations were clear, maybe the end goal wasn't all that well thought out, and the details leading up to his plan, again, kind of, sort of, like, that whole bomb thing, where'd he get it, did he buy it, did he build it, who knows, you just accept that he is a smart, intelligent enough guy to either build it himself or know where to get it. So yeah, I haven't seen that video at all, nor do I care to, because to this date, there's already a third one that I've seen. There was the Civil War, there was Force Awakens, and now there's this new one, Star Trek Beyond. I'm not seeing any of those. I'm sorry, but sometimes there are just some movies that are just so much fun that you don't care about these sorts of things. And this is my point right here. If a movie is good enough, it can actually survive a decent amount of plot holes. In the thumbnail for this video, you will notice already two movies. And I actually was very grateful that these sorts of movies, well, they have these posters that pretty much just help me, quote unquote, rate this. Basically, as the way I say to my friends, if a joke is so well written for me, I cannot pass it up. That's just how it is. So, the two best examples for plot holes are that of Captain America, Civil War, Avengers 3, whatever you want to call it, and the Transformers movies. These are the best prime example. Pretty much any of the most recent Marvel movies, Marvel Studios movies that is, are the best examples for movies that can get away with plot holes, and the Transformers movies that cannot. And here are the differences. Number one, and this, I might be going too far too fast too soon, but you know what? This is like the best example, and everything else is secondary. Characters, acting, motivations, all these sorts of things play a large part in movies. This is a well-known factor. Now, this is one of the parts that I truly, truly liked about the Marvel movies, and especially Civil War. The acting was very, very, very well done from absolutely everyone involved, and I'm actually including William Hurt in that statement, because oh my god, sometimes I just can't stand the guy. He has been in good stuff, I completely admit that. The problem is that prior to this, he was most well known for being, as far as Marvels go, in The Incredible Hulk, and oh my god, he is like number 2 or 3 on why that movie wasn't as good as the other one. And yeah, big statement right there. But as far as that one goes, I will get this one out of the way. I truly believe that The Incredible Hulk is better than the Ang Lee Hulk because of the way the Hulk is designed, what he does, how everything looks in the movie, but falls flatter because of the cast. With a few exceptions here and there, I'm kind of back and forth on Eric Bana as the Hulk, but I personally prefer the cast, the Ang Lee Hulk, as opposed to the Incredible Hulk. And back to William Hurt here. Oh my god, Sam Elliott was so much better as Thunderbolt Ross than William Hurt. William Hurt and Liv Tyler kind of share a reason why that movie wasn't so good, because they have either two expressions or some kind of stern face kind of. And you can make the argument back and forth on Liv Tyler, but watch that movie. I swear to you, William Hurt has those two faces. So when I saw him in Civil War, that's what I was expecting, but thank God Almighty that he did not. He actually emoted. He had like at least 5 or 6 different faces. And to me, he himself is kind of a personal plot hole in that movie. Why was he even there? He had no purpose in being there outside of being an obvious bad guy. Sorry about that. So, yeah, outside of being an obvious bad guy, William Hurt's character, Thunderbolt Ross, has absolutely zero purpose in being there. If they had all linked him to the Hulk, it would have been fine. But they don't. They somehow mention that he was promoted, which already doesn't make any sense to me, because after everything that happened in Harlem in the Hulk movie, one would think he would have either stayed a general or demoted or gotten in some level of trouble, unless they just buried it. Me personally, I thought he would have gotten a desk job, but that's just me. But still, why was he even there? It makes no sense. Like I said, outside of obvious bad guy, they could have had any other government person in that position for us to not like. It could have been absolutely anyone, just nameless Joe. Totally fine. But no, they decided to go with Ross. I don't get it, but hey. But like I said, that is kind of a personal plot hole, but excusable because it actually did well. And even then, everyone else in the movie did very, very well. Again, another issue. Vision's, how would he put it? His theory on it. It's not stupid. It's not bad. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, to some degree it makes sense, but it still kind of all falls, again, on Iron Man, on Tony Stark. Him creating his suit created the Ironmonger, created Whiplash, and kind of and created the Mandarin. He created his own villains. However, and the Hulk kind of sort of did too, but still not at the same time. Captain America sure shit didn't. Thor didn't. No one else did. They were a product of the villain. If nothing else, like Thor and the villain were technically created at the same time, Thor and Loki. And Captain America was created as a result of the Red Skull. The Red Skull was first. He clearly didn't work in how they wanted. And then it's, okay, let's try again, but do it right. So for him to say that their strength causes more people to show up to combat that strength is just wrong. It does make sense, but in this respect, it is wrong. The Chitauri still would have shown up whether they were there or not. So them being there helped combat that strength. And Ultron was created by Tony Stark because he had a god complex or something, or no complex, no god complex. He just wanted to try and say, well, let's give it a shot. We got this total head start on it. Let's see what we can do on it. And then by complete accident, he creates his own Frankenstein monster. That's pretty much what that movie was. So, and then Ant-Man, let's throw him out there too. He was a product of someone else trying to combat that. And then Yellow Jacket shows it because that was already there. So his hypothesis may make some sense, but it's just wrong. But again, excusable because Paul B was absolutely stellar as Vision, and you believed him I didn't think about it at first when I first saw it the first couple of times, because he presents it in such a way that you believe him, After you see it for a third or fourth time, then you start to think, no. But again, excusable. And everyone else in that movie, most importantly, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. were absolutely amazing in that movie, especially when they're going at it, almost as Robert Downey Jr. described in an interview, like an old married couple. So that's an example of where plot holes, while very noticeable, are excusable. Now into the Transformers movies. And oh sweet God. Just what? Just how? These are movies, to me, that are perfect examples of, at some point, someone should have turned to the director, the producer, the writer, and said, hey, this part right here, I don't understand. How did these two connect? How did this come about? And how does it not get explained again? Sometimes a simple line of dialogue is all you need. My best example of this is Men in Black 2. My personal favorite part of that whole movie is the simplest explanations as to why Elle, I forget her character's name, and unfortunately I'm spacing on the actress's name, I do apologize, but they explain it. They explain why she's not there. So many movies have characters that are in the first movie and then all of a sudden, for reasons never explained, are not seen again in the second movie. All he says is, she wanted to go back to the morgue. That, you know, I just did her a favor. And that's it. Is it a great example? Explanation? No, but at least it's an explanation as to what happened to that character. So, it's stuff like that you really take for granted sometimes. The movie Men in Black 2 may not be the greatest, but sometimes things like that do help you feel better about things that just don't make sense. So for Transformers, the best example honestly comes down to Transformers 2 Revenge of the Fallen. Where to start? Well, my personal favorite just comes down to at the very end. Spoilers, but honestly with that movie, I just don't care. I don't care. At the end of the movie, you get Devastator, who shows up and is pretty cool looking, and would have been so much cooler if he killed at least one of those twins. Came so close, but then that thing somehow, it literally choked on him. And that was actually probably the part of the movie that it was almost at the end of the movie, but I almost walked out of right then and there. Not because he didn't eat him, but because that part actually started to show the twins' supposed fighting skill, fighting abilities, because they start fighting back against Devastator in a halfway decent start to a fight sequence. And I remember it, like, the one that's in his mouth, names are unimportant. There's red and green, and even then I forget which one it was. I think it was the red one. Is in his mouth, and he's like, okay, so they actually show some strength. Then the other one shoots a grappling hook onto it, starts swinging around and shooting at it. And then out of nowhere, it shoots the other one in the face, and then they fall, and then that's it. Just, They were already terrible characters, and that's an example of when a character is no longer there, is not only understandable, but you do not care. You see the two of them in car form driving around in the background in a single shot in the third movie, and then that's it. Gone forever. I personally would have preferred to have seen them ripped limb from limb in the third movie, even if it was a quick little bit. I mean, they kill off the old guy, the old Transformer, but they leave them alone. I guess we're supposed to assume they were killed off screen, and we're not supposed to care, which I sure don't. It's just a personal feeling of enjoyment of seeing them being eliminated from the stories. But hey, as long as they're not there, that's all that matters. But still, Devastator shows up in the movie, to get back to that. Devastator shows up, climbs up on top of the pyramid, starts tearing it apart to get to that thing in there, and then problem one, John Turturro, I think I'm saying his name right, manages to contact the right ship that just happens to be in the right spot, which just happens to have this incredibly awesome railgun, I guess that's what they call it, and uses it to destroy Devastator. A clear shot to him when anything else would have worked out, but they just happen to have this incredibly powerful piece of weapons technology just within range and kills him with it. It's a pretty cool shot. Sure, you see bits and pieces flying all over the place, but it looks pretty cool. At least 10 minutes later, you see Megatron and the Fallen on the same pyramid, and they don't take the shot. You could have either taken out one, two, or all three of them, the two of them and the machine, all in one go if you were lucky enough. I mean, if they were lined up perfectly, bam, 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 all done, and maybe Optimus comes back to life or not, it doesn't matter. But I mean, why? There's no explanations, there's no reasons, there's no even mention, no passing mention that the railgun ever exists ever again. And that's a pretty big problem considering how powerful of a technology that thing is. And if it could take out something as big as Devastator, it doesn't take out anything or anyone else ever again. So, just why? Now again, problems like that can be excused if the acting and the characters and the stories and motivations and all that are made clear, understandable, relatable, anything like that. But oh, they are not. Case number 1 and number 2 for that matter, and borderline number 3, Shia LaBeouf, or as the Beef as some call him. Oh my god, just thinking about him makes me hurt my brain. I really want to be in that room when Michael Bay turned to him and said, okay, so all you're going to do is stutter and run around and scream like a little girl for a good majority of the movie. You okay with that? Yeah, man. I can do that. I'm Shia LaBeouf. I can do that. I was in Holes. I can do that. And this isn't a knock against him, really. Not really. Because I've seen him in one or two other movies, and he's actually a good actor. He shows real potential. One of which, actually, was a movie that came out, I think it was sometime after the first Transformers, maybe the second, I forget which, but it's A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints. And that movie was really damn good. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was really damn good. He plays a young version of Robert Downey Jr., who was also really good in that movie. And you see him in this movie, and you're thinking, was this the same guy who was screaming and stuttering in Transformers? No way! So it's that kind of thing that makes plot holes very difficult to get past. Because if you can't enjoy the characters, you can't enjoy the acting, you can't enjoy the story when there's problems with it. That's the issue. That's where the problems come about. Because I've had multiple times someone ask me, hey, why did this happen to this person in this movie? Sometimes I have an answer, sometimes I have my own personal theories based on the knowledge and the information given in the movie, and sometimes I just don't know. And some people say, oh my god, that's stupid. I'm like, yeah, but at least there was this part and this part and this part that made it much more enjoyable. And you could argue that the Transformers movies actually at least have good action, good voice acting. Peter Cullen as Optimus is always awesome. Until you realize that those parts are so small in comparison to the rest of the movie that it's not enough to make up for it. With a Transformers live action movie, you know there's going to be action, you know there's going to be CGI. It's just going to happen. Even before Michael Bay was ever attached to these movies, you just knew it was going to happen. Why make it live action? Never explained by the producers and all that. As far as I know, they just went with it. And that's fine. The problem with that comes down to the very simple thing of Transformers! Guest starring the Transformers! We don't see a movie called Transformers to watch the humans. I don't care who you put in that movie. You can put A-list after A-list after A-list actor in the movie. We won't care. All we care about, all we will ever care about, is the stuff we see in the trailers, which is primarily the Transformers. And that's why we hate these movies so much. At least me personally, that's a big reason as to why these movies are not all that good. It just flat out comes down to the lack of the main talent. And when your talent is primarily based in the world of computers, you have no excuse. None. Especially nowadays. I mean, computers are just so more well known now and so good that you would think that this wouldn't be an issue. But I guess it is, or they just don't care. These are things that can really drag a movie down, even if it has potential of being good. And so now we have a new one coming out. And I'll admit, they make really good trailers for these movies. Dark of the Moon and Last Night have had awesome trailers. I remember watching Dark of the Moon a couple more times after the movie came out, and I thought it was absolutely god awful. And as most people know, I did not pay cent one for that movie, and I'm so glad I didn't. I gave that money to Super 8. If you haven't seen that movie yet, do it. That movie deserves to be seen, owned, and praised. Because it's awesome. Just flat out. I'm not going to go into that because that's what we're here for. But that movie is awesome. Transformers can bite it. And so, with all that in mind, like I said, plot holes can be excused as long as there's good characters, good motivations, and good story. Something like Civil War is so much more excusable because of those factors. The acting from everyone was very well done, and all the characters were recognizable and on screen all the time. In a movie called Captain America, you see Captain America all the time. In a movie called Thor, you see Thor. A movie called Iron Man, you see Iron Man. Yeah, kind of with Hulk, it's a little bit back and forth because you still have to have the human aspect, but you still see him. Okay, I'll take that one back a little bit because, you want to see Hulk and you only see Hulk in like 3 or 4 scenes, but still you see him. And that's an understandable and excusable reason, and could be why we never really got a second Hulk movie. We're kind of going to get one with the next Thor movie, which is going to be awesome. I mean, with everything that's going into this movie, it's going to be awesome. Is it going to be great? Maybe not, honestly. I mean, Thor 1 and 2 were great. They were fun, for sure. But were they really all that good? It depends on who you ask, really. All I know is I enjoy watching them. I've watched them several times, both of them, and they are fun to watch. On a personal level, kind of why I like watching them is because in the credits, you'll see, like especially for the Avengers, you'll see Captain America / Steve Rogers, Iron Man / Tony Stark, Thor. Personally, I kind of think that's kind of cool and kind of a point right here. You see Thor throughout the majority of the movie, whether he's fighting, whether he's throwing his hammer, or just standing around and talking. It's still Thor. You still see him, and it's still fun. Chris Hemsworth has really hit it out of the park and gotten really lucky with that character, and I'm very thankful. And I'm also very thankful as long as he doesn't do any more Huntsman movies, but that's just me. I haven't seen either of those movies. So, I'd say that just about covers it for this video. And hey, if you can think of any plot holes that you can excuse because the rest of the movie was so good, put them in the comments. Very curious. I'm very curious to see what plot holes that you can recognize, but you don't give a rip about because the rest of the movie was a lot of fun. And for fun, what plot holes that could you just not wrap your head around for one reason or another? Like, for example, the story was just god-awful. The characters were terrible. The acting was abysmal. Something like that. I'm very curious. I'll admit, I don't have a lot of people to talk to about this sort of thing, so that's where you come in. So let me know. And until then, I'll catch you on the flip side.